All right, everybody, welcome back in. Hanging out Tempe Marketplace. We're here at Twin Peaks. It's a rainy day in the neighborhood, but that's cool because Ted Robinson, Pac-12 Network, is going to be our guest right now. He did the USC-Cal game last night. Look out for Mark Madsen and the Cal Bears, and later he has Washington State and Oregon on Saturday. Ted, welcome as always, pal. We had a discussion earlier about, at the moment, it looks like Arizona is really the only solid team out of the Pac-12 that could make it into the dance. You have some others, maybe Washington State, maybe Oregon, maybe Colorado. Where are you on all of this?
Well, yeah, I think the Wildcats guys are in. There's no question. And I would say, right now there are three teams that to me look really good. And actually, I think Washington State's one of those three. But where I think it's going to play out the last month of the year, and then the week in Vegas is going to be fun because there may be five teams, let's say, that are jockeying to get in. Probably three will, and that's what this last month of the season is going to be about.
Ted, you talk about ASU taking on Colorado tonight, and then there's Utah. The Cats take on Utah tonight as well, too. It's interesting to see that these teams play so well, and then they struggle. Then they play so well, then they struggle. Now, is that just the youth, or is that just the competition of the Pac-12 this year?
Well, yeah, look, there's balance again, whatever the parity word that some people hate, that's there. Arizona's clearly the team through its non-conference that separated themselves. I also, guys, I just think this is the reality of college basketball 2024. Nobody has the same team. I mean, it's crazy. If you change two players a year now, that's considered, boy, you have a stable team. And I just saw Cal last night. Cal has been awful the last few years. They're 6-6 in the league right now, but they have four new starters who combined to play at 14 schools. Okay, now that's college basketball 2024, and so the immediate payoff is pretty good. And the other thing I think you're going to see, and for example, a team like Cal is that way, is that teams will be better. Certain teams are just going to play better down the stretch because they've had 20, 25 games together. In a sport that has no exhibition season and has such crazy turnover year to year right now, with no warm-up games, for example, it's nuts to judge people just on November, December.
You made a great point there about Cal and how terrible they had been. They go out and they hire Mark Madsen. Is he one of the key components that was able to use the portal successfully to, I guess, re-energize Cal right now and make them competitive in his very first year?
And there you use the word, energy. That's Mark Madsen. Cal basketball was devoid of energy and hope. And Mark brings that in a massive dose. And therefore, he uses that in the portal, which is the other element. And yeah, and look, this is Band-Aid this year because all of these guys that he brought in are one-year guys. But they were so bad, they were so short on talent that this was a necessary one-year Band-Aid. The next test for Mark, everybody, including Mark, knows is going to be, all right, now how do I back this up? Who's going to be with me next year? But as we long say this in sports, Manuch, you played, you can be bad, but you can't be bad and hopeless.
Yes.
And that's where Cal basketball was the last couple of years. That's fatal. And at least Mark has erased the hopeless part.
Ted, I'm very interested when you and Bill Walton talk pregame, kind of breaking down your notes one way or the other. And over the last few years, you've been broadcasting for many, many years. Is there a point during a Pac-12 basketball season, pretty much that team is who they are and this team is who they are, or is there an ebb and a flow to where you see improvement or you see steady as she goes from some of these teams?
Well, I think it's a mix, honestly. Yes, there are certain teams. For example, I would say Oregon last year was in your first category. We got to probably this point in the year last year, and I thought, this is who Oregon is. Dana Altman was frustrated last year with his team. He couldn't really connect and get them to play the way his prior Oregon teams had. And as a result, you had an Oregon team that didn't play better down the stretch, as most Dana teams had. So there's category one. Category two, I'd say, was a team like Stanford that played better down the stretch last year. Wasn't good enough to get them in the tournament, but they finally recognized what most people thought was their potential in mid-February. The sad part was, as happens in the sport, you can dig yourself a hole in November and December that you can't get out of. I'm just trying to think of that. Those are probably the two examples that jump in my mind right away. And then you have a team like the Utes right now, Utah, that built themselves a really good resume in the non-conference season. And they're trying to hang on right now because they've been hurt by injury, and they're basically trying to make it hang on and win enough games that non-conference season will get them a tournament bid.
Ted Robinson is our guest, Pac-12 Network on the Right Toyota guest line. There is an awful lot of conversation in the Valley, Ted, and I know that you, being one of the play-by-play announcers, you don't dive into this that much. But if this downtrodden ASU team continues to lose on its way out, do you see Arizona State then taking a look elsewhere on their coach?
Well, I think that's a valid question. I mean, Bobby's been there a long time, and he's had some very good runs. I think, like many other schools, I would say Bobby's program is characterized by something I think is challenging, which is nobody stays. It's just complete turnover year to year. And your fan base is a very difficult time connecting with that in your market. That's already been a challenge. You know better than I about how difficult that is in the Phoenix market for ASU basketball to make an impact. It's really hard when you just think, my gosh, you haven't been able to really keep anybody. Frankie Collins came back this year. We consider that a milestone. So now you factor that with the point you're stepping up in league next year. You're going to arguably the best basketball conference in America. And it was a disastrous decision by the schools that went because of that. Arizona will be fine. I shouldn't say that. But for the other three schools, it's disastrous. You put their men's basketball programs into a horrible spot because the league they're going to is just brutal. And so I think, all these schools have to factor that in. And then the last point, which I'm not familiar with the details of, is money.
Yeah.
And are you willing to pay somebody to not coach?
It said the other thing, too, is both U of A and ASU are going to be looking for new athletic directors, which is going to focus in on Tommy Lloyd. He's fine. I get that. But for ASU, if the new AD comes in, doesn't like what he's seeing, and into your point, what kind of money he'd have to fork over for a new guy and pay out with Bobby Hurley. My last question for you, in reference to Mr. Walton there, you deal with each and every week, and I say every other day. When you listen to him, what are some of the profound things, basketball-wise, that's consistent that a lot of folks may not hear because of, I don't call it silliness, but some of his colloquialisms that he has?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a great question, guys, because look, Bill gets renowned for the tangents, but his basketball knowledge is extremely good. And Bill values the basic game. And we've talked a little bit in the last couple of games we've done about Bill Bradley. And I grew up a kid in New York, and as a kid, the Knicks won a couple of NBA championships, and they played basketball that all of us as kids were taught was the right way to play. Player movement, share the ball, and the game was basically played on the court because of our physical limitations. And then eventually Dr. J changed basketball. He took it up in the air, and David Thompson followed, etc. And the game became an aerial show. And now who changed it back 8-9 years ago? The Golden State Warriors. They came back and started playing the way those Knicks played. So to your question, Bill values that because that's the way his UCLA teams played. It's the way his Trailblazers played. And that's the part. When Bill sees that from an individual player or from a team, he loves it. And I've come to appreciate that part of him. The other things I would tell you that Bill's very strong about, given his own personal history, is I've seen him tell players, don't rush back. Don't let other people force you back if you don't feel ready. And we have players in the conference right now that are going through that. And I've seen Bill talk to them about that very point. And the other thing Bill's very big on is you better compete. And there was a kid at Oregon last year, freshman that was highly regarded and really didn't do very much, transferred out after 1 year. And I saw Bill talk to him last year and kind of urge him to say, you've got to go get it. No one's going to give you anything. And that's the kind of stuff that Bill does. That, of course, I'm fortunate to see it. Bill will never promote himself. I'll promote him because Bill's very, very he's a player. At heart, he's a player. And he sees the game like a player. And he's concerned about what players go through. And that That's the part of Bill that I treasure. He calls himself an optimist. He isn't just. He's very much an optimist.
It's always good, pal, when we catch up with you. Thank you so much.
Hey,
for
real
the
quick,
time.
Ted, we want to see if you can give us a score and winner of this thing they call the Super Bowl here on Sunday. So we got this great competition for a big gift card. So you're in the Bay Area there. A little selfishly, I hope Brock Purdy lights it up. So what's your score and prediction here for this game coming up on Sunday?
49ers win 26-21. I love the article in The Athletic this week. Everybody should go find it if you care. Brock Purdy growing up in, I think it was Gilbert.
Yes.
In your area. Brock Purdy played flag football until he was 12 years old.
Yep.
And they credit flag football with his quick decision-making and processing. And I am a huge proponent of flag football. My own son never put a helmet or pad on until he was in high school. We know flag football is going to be in the Olympic Games in 2028. It's a great development for football. So the fact that Brock Purdy is going to start the Super Bowl and crediting flag football in part for that development, I think is awesome.
I didn't play tackle to my freshman year either, Ted. So I played flag football and Mount Carmel, St. Daniel's League as well, too. So something to be said about that.
That's great. like I said, I'm biased. I'm a huge proponent of it, seeing it here in the Bay Area where I live. So when I did not know that until 3 days ago. I didn't realize that was Brock Purdy's development. But the fact that they're connecting it to his success in the NFL level is amazing.
Ted, thank you so much, pal. Have a great day and enjoy your call on Pac-12 Hoops.
Thanks, guys. Good day with you. Take care.
There you go. That's Ted Robinson, everybody, on the Right Toyota guest line. Ted presented today by All City Towing. And if you're looking for a new career, how about All City Towing? They pay great and they have sensational benefits. The easiest way to apply is just go to allcitytowing.com and search careers. That's allcitytowing.com and search careers. They are on service calls 24/7 and they have statewide service. Again, if you're looking for a new job, they are looking for you. It is allcitytowing.com and search careers. All right, when we come back, well, we're going to play against one of the Twin Peaks ladies here. It is our challenge of the Twin Peak girls, a chance to win a gift card from Twin Peaks. 602-260-9191. The Picks Challenge presented by Blue Moon and